We have an absolutely loaded Week 13 NFL Sunday slate, and I can't wait to get into it. I'm going to give you my 5 favorite picks for Sunday, which includes 2 player props and one is a mini ladder. We're also going to look at 2 different totals, and I got you for a pick against the spread for the Sunday night football game between the 49ers and the Buffalo Bills. Now, we are coming off a no sweat winner from our Friday video between the Chiefs and the Raiders. We took Jacoby Myers over 51.5 receiving yards, and that cashed in what was it, the first play of the second quarter. And I think he finished with close to 100 receiving yards. We absolutely needed that, and we got it. And now it's time to go on a heater. Now, the best way to support this channel, keep all the picks free. If you wouldn't mind just liking the video, pressing the subscribe button, doesn't take longer than just a couple of seconds, and I'm incredibly appreciative of all of your support, and I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And now, if you're stumbling onto this page for the first time, welcome. My name is Peter Appel, and I'm going for my 4th straight profitable season in the NFL. It's been a bumpy road so far, but I'm confident we're going to end this year in the green, and I would appreciate if you let me know what you think of my Week 13 picks in the comment section below and what you're on for Week 13 NFL Sunday action. I'll be sure to answer all the comments just like I always do. And a reminder that this channel is sponsored by BetMGM. It's the perfect time to use promo code JustGridiron for a first bet offer up to $1,500. Deposit at least $10, and if you lose your first wager on BetMGM after using promo code JustGridiron, you'll get it all back up to $1,500 in bonus bets. However, gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 years or older. Terms and conditions apply. We'll go in chronological order of all the game times. So we'll start with my picks in the 1 p.m., 10 a.m. Pacific time, then go to 4 p.m., and then we'll end with my Sunday night football pick. So we're going to start by looking at the total between the Bengals and the Pittsburgh Steelers in another classic AFC North divisional showdown. Now, based on the matchup, this should be a relatively high-scoring game. The Bengals defense is still a bottom 10 unit in the NFL, and their offense now with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase is, I think, a top 5 unit in the NFL. But this isn't just a normal game. This is an AFC North divisional rivalry, and what typically happens and what history will tell us is that this is going to be a very low-scoring battle. Now, since Joe Burrow became the quarterback for the Bengals, Steelers versus Bengals games have gone under 48 points in 5 of their last 7 matchups. But that's just the tip of the iceberg on how many historical trends are pointing us towards the under in this matchup. Divisional unders when the total is above 44.5 and the game is outdoors from November to December. The under is 189, 128, and 5, hitting at a 60% rate. But we got more. Since 2017, when both teams have 8+ days of rest, right? The Bengals are coming off a bye. Steelers played on Thursday night. The under is 113.65. That's a 63.5% hit rate. Mike Tomlin, road unders in his career, cash cow. 57-29 to the under, a 66% hit rate since he took over for the Steelers. Now, I only give you referee trends when, again, they are complete outliers. And Sean Hockley is going to be refereeing this game. And he is an absurd 26-12-1, 70% to the under in divisional games in his career as the head referee. No crew calls a higher per game average of false starts, offensive holding penalties than Hockley's group. So both offenses could get caught with more flags than usual. Now, all of these systems are from Action Network's Bet Labs, and this next one I found from Ralph Michaels on Wager Talk. Highly recommend going to check him out on Twitter. When the Steelers are facing a team that averages 35 pass attempts or more per game, the under is 29-9, a 76.3% hit rate. Now, the cold weather should definitely impact this game, as the Steelers' 5th-ranked secondary by dropback EPA per play should continue the big play from the Bengals. And in turn, the Steelers should reveal a run-heavy game script against a really suspect Bengals defense, keeping the drives long and wasting plenty of clock. Now, I definitely lean towards the Steelers at +3, but with way more trends backing the under and how often that these games come down to a complete coin flip, I think the under 48 is the way to go. And I would still play this as long as you're over that key number of 47. So for my pick, give me the under 48 in Bengals versus Steelers to win 1 unit, playable down to 47. For our next pick, we're going to look at a player prop between the Washington Commanders and the Tennessee Titans, and it's reminiscent of last week's cash on CJ Stroud over 8.5 rushing yards, which hit with ease. His first run was 7 yards. I mean, that was an easy one. It's because the Titans continue to leave holes for these running quarterbacks, and Daniels is in such a good spot to take advantage. Not only is this a great matchup for Daniels, he'll likely be forced to run and develop a ground game for Washington. Running back Austin Eckler is out after suffering a concussion last week against the Cowboys. Starting running back Brian Robinson has been a limited practice participant after suffering an ankle injury in that game. Without those two, Daniels was forced to use his legs, recording 74 rushing yards against the Cowboys. I fully believe that this line should be in the 40s, but he went under this line in 3 straight games before that game against Dallas. He also suffered a rib injury in week 7 against Carolina, so it's understandable that the Commanders didn't design as many run plays for him, but now he's healthy, and the Commanders just barely have any running backs to lean on. And again, this is one of the easiest matchups for him all season long. They've allowed quarterbacks to go over their posted rushing line in 4 straight games, and they rank 26 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. Daniels has also been crushing this line at home this year. In 6 home games, he's been over this line 5 times, averaging 51.2 rushing yards per game. I really just do expect the Commanders to key in on his running ability in this matchup, especially because the Titans' pass defense is really rounding into form here, ranking 12th in dropback EPA over the last 5 weeks. And Daniels, through the air, in terms of efficiency, it's kind of diminished, ranking 23rd in completion percentage over that span. So likely without a full workload from Brian Robinson and no Eckler, I expect a lot of design runs for Jayden Daniels in this game with those large holes left in the Titans defense that we've seen over the past 4 weeks. Daniels has a ton of upside on the ground in this one, so give me over 37.5 rushing yards for the quarterback of the Commanders, Jayden Daniels, to win 1 unit. Now we go to the 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific time. I'm out here in California, so it's a little bit earlier for me, but looking at a player prop between the LA Rams and the New Orleans Saints. Now, you guys know I'm a Rams fan. And when I saw that we had the Saints on deck, I was immediately nervous that Alvin Kamara would have a dominant game as a pass catcher in this one. The Rams' run defense has actually stepped up since the midway part of the season, but they are allowing 8.2 yards per catch to running backs, ranking 25th in the league. In general, they've allowed the 23rd most receiving yards to running backs, and now they have a date with a running back who's the highest targeted running back in the entire NFL. I'm kind of dreading this one, but we're going to make money off it. And now this is do or die for the Saints. They got no Chris Olave and they got no Rashid Shaheed. I expect Derek Carr to make Alvin Kamara a focal point in this passing offense. He's had at least 5 receptions in 7 straight games before last week, where the Saints just completely blew out the Browns. The Saints are 2.5 to 3-point dogs in this one, kind of depending on where you shop. And a matchup against the Rams, who are obviously much better than Cleveland, should keep this game close to kind of limit the weird game script that could get us away from Alvin Kamara, the receiver. Now, I bring up the receptions line, even though we're not betting the receptions, because of the Rams' inability to stop running backs as pass catchers. So if he gets his typical 5 receptions at 8.2 yards per catch, right, we're looking at 40 receiving yards. And that's for average running backs. That ain't Kamara. The Rams also, and this is the key here, they play zone coverage at the 5th highest rate in the NFL. Kamara just excels in finding these soft spots in these zone defenses and often adjusts his routes on the fly, which is super effective in these short to intermediate routes where all he needs is just one big run to get even close to this number. And now the Chargers, they're way better than the Rams at stopping running backs out of the backfield. And they play even more zone coverage than the Rams do. And Kamara went over 50 yards receiving against them. The Panthers play the 7th most zone coverage in the league. Kamara had 60 yards against them. The Falcons play the 3rd most zone coverage in the league. Kamara had 54 against them in his second game, 42 against them in his first game. I think this could be Alvin Kamara's one of his best games as a receiver all season long. And I also love the bounce back narrative after only recording 4 receptions for 22 yards against a Brown team, where that game script just fell kind of completely out of whack. And the Browns play man coverage at the 4th highest rate in the NFL. So it's a completely different look here. So we're doing a mini ladder on Alvin Kamara, and I don't even want the typical 37.5 receiving yards. I want 40 plus receiving yards at plus 110, risking a unit there, and 50 plus receiving yards for a half unit risk at plus 195. And you could really take that all the way down to plus 165. But if it's 165 or lower, 0.35 unit risk. But I think really Alvin Kamara is going to be 50 plus receiving yards or more in this game. So for our next pick, we're going to look at the total between the Ravens and the Eagles, right? The next pick in this time slot. And we bet a similar line for the Ravens against the Chargers, and we lost on that under in the last 45 seconds. It happens. And now the Ravens are an absurd 10-2 to the over this season. The Eagles are also coming off a game in where we bet on the under, and Saquon Barkley bursted for a 70-yard touchdown in garbage time as the Eagles were just draining the clock. Both should have hit. And it's only right that we bet the under between these two teams who crushed our dreams last week. Now, the Ravens, they are the best offense in the NFL, no doubt about it, but they have a matchup against the NFL's best defense since the middle part of this season. The Eagles are now the sixth best defense overall by EPA per play, but since their bye week in week 6, they are the number one defense by EPA, ranking second against both the pass and the run. But in that same time span of the Eagles since their bye week, the Ravens ranked ninth in EPA per play on defense. Now, Saquon Barkley is an absolute man on the mission, and he's going for that MVP, but he might have his toughest matchup of the season going against the Ravens' fourth best run defense by EPA since the Eagles' bye week, and overall this season, they rank number 2 in rushing EPA per play on defense. The one area of weakness where we look at both defenses, because the Eagles, they really don't have a defect right now. In the Ravens, we can look at their passing defense, right? But I will give them credit. They held Justin Herbert to just 218 yards through the air, and over their last 5 games, they ranked 12th against the pass. Devonta Smith said he's unsure if he's going to play, and we should expect Kyle Hamilton and company to key in on A.J. Brown here. Now, both teams should get their points here, but 51.5 is just too high, especially when this game got bumped up from the look-ahead line of 49 due to both teams being in games that were in the high 50s last week. I would not have budged off that initial number of 49, as both teams didn't even deserve to go over the total. So I think we're getting 2.5 points of value here, and it's still being over the key number of 51, especially. A score of 27-24, which is still a pretty high scoring game, would keep us under 51.5 at -115. Now at 51, I still like it, as does my model on Rithmm, giving us a 55.7% chance of staying under 51. So I'm going back to the well. Give me the Ravens against the Eagles under 51.5 at -115 to win 1 unit. Now, for our last pick, we're taking a side between the San Francisco 49ers and the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football. Wow, how things can change. The 49ers were a 2.5-point favorite in this spot before the season started, and were just 3-point underdogs on the look-ahead line just last week. The 49ers got absolutely demolished by the Packers. The Bills are off 6 straight wins, including an enormous win over the Chiefs, and then they went on their bye week. Teams in the NFL rarely want to go on their bye week after going on such a hot streak because it can hurt their momentum, right? If you're on a really cold streak and you hit your bye, that's the time to reset. But once you're winning in the NFL, you don't want to stop there. And there is no hungrier spot for the 49ers than this game. The 49ers come into this game do or die mode, but they'll be without Trent Williams and Nick Bosa in this one. But luckily for San Francisco, Brock Purdy is projected to be back after dealing with that shoulder problem. The 49ers need all of their key pieces on offense. Of course, they won't have Big Trent, but they'll need every ounce to keep up with the Buffalo Bills. Kittle, Debo, Juwan Jennings, the whole crew. And by game time, it's expected to be really cold in Buffalo with potential light snow and some wind. It's nothing absurd like we've seen in the classic Buffalo in those winter months, but still, the weather is definitely not looking fun to play in. And now weather will undoubtedly affect this game in some form or fashion, which generally puts more of an emphasis on the run game for both teams. Now, the 49ers were totally unable to run the ball last week against the Packers after the Packers generated that lead, and they were just stacking the box against the 49ers offense led by Brandon Allen. That was horrible. With Purdy back, that Bills secondary has to respect his arm, giving more lanes to guys like Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. Now, I almost went with McCaffrey over rushing yards in this game, but I think both running backs are going to be a big part of this game plan. And now, Buffalo's run defense can really be exploited in this matchup. They allow 4.9 yards per carry to running backs this season. That ranks 28th in the NFL. Compare that to the 49ers, who are allowing just 4.2 yards per carry. That ranks 9th in the NFL this season. As the weather is likely to reduce this game down to a run heavy game script, the 49ers, I think, have the advantage on the ground. Now, both passing defenses have been very similar this entire season. The Bills rank 11th in dropback EPA, 49ers rank 12th. Now, clearly, Josh Allen is the preferred quarterback in this game over Brock Purdy, but Purdy has better weapons who are better in space. With likely some slicker fields, we should see the 49ers weapons make a larger impact if they get the ball in space over the Bills weapons on offense. Now, I really do see a path to victory here for San Francisco, as if they establish the run and with the weather likely impacting the passing game, the 49ers should stay within the number. And my model is absolutely screaming at me to take this, making the line closer to the look ahead of +3 over the key number of 6. Now it's 6.5. It was at 7 a little bit earlier. We've seen a little bit more buyback here. We're looking at a last-ditch effort for the 49ers to remain relevant here. So give me the 49ers +6.5, playable down to +6 or better. So my bet is 49ers +6.5 at -115 to win 1 unit. Now, I've talked about my model a couple of times over the last few picks, and I highly recommend downloading Rithmm. You can find the link in the description of this video to access your 7-day free trial. You can build your own AI-backed model or use their back-tested model with tons of props and game predictions. They also do other sports if you're looking for more NBA, college football, college basketball. They got it all. So those are my 5 best bets for week 13. And due to the holiday, this video is coming out just a day later than it normally does. But there was still plenty of research that went into the selections. And I made these bets earlier on in the week. I just didn't have time to finish the write-ups to get you this full analysis on this YouTube video. So if you enjoyed me breaking down these 5 picks, the best way to support, again, just like the video, press the subscribe button, and let me know what you're on for week 13. I'd love to chop it up in the comment section about what you're on for this Sunday. And make sure to turn on post notifications, as my Monday night video for the Browns versus the Broncos will be out soon. Let's go 5-0 on Sunday. Why not us?